My name is Miriam Barajas and welcome to a new video. So last week's episode or video was about my Italy vlog, and I wanted to clear up a few details beforehand, and pardon the noise in the background. I'm recording in my living room and we only have AC in the living room, and right now I'm not willing to give up my comfort. So we're gonna just have to deal with the buzz on the back. But to kind of clear some information, this vlog should have been posted back in April or May. It just took me a long time, as I probably stated towards the end of the video. I couldn't. My mental health and how I've been busy, and it's been stressful, and honestly, like, I'm happy that I did post it, because after going over all the footage and all the editing, I kind of relived these moments, and it was really funny, and it also brought to light how I view myself, and I want to view myself in a more positive manner, because I make fun of myself and my weight a lot, and I feel like that's not good for me or my mental health or like my motivation when it comes to like losing weight and everything, and that's why I feel like I'm not like progressing. Take a shot after every time I say like. I wanted to come on here and kind of give you the tea about Italy, because like I mentioned, and like, those are the two words that I hate editing out. As I mentioned, there's a lot of information that they didn't really give out that I found useful when I was like looking into Italy. And like, don't get me wrong, I am like the type A itinerary, all this stuff, but because I was traveling with a friend, I was a lot more like flexible and lenient in this situation, especially as it was a new country, and you know, I was visiting, or well, yeah, we were visiting a new country, and I was with a fellow traveler. And honestly, I think this is the first time that I've traveled with someone else besides my family to a different country, so I thought that was a really cool experience. So let's get on with the video. Obviously, I'm gonna talk to you about the 10 do's and 10 don'ts. So we're gonna start off by doing the 10 do's and then finish off with the 10 don'ts of what to do in Rome in specific. So obviously, as a given, make sure you know how to get to your hotel prior to landing. And I know this is like common sense, but I feel like as a new traveler, because this is my second time going to Europe, I don't know how to really navigate. I always have had someone like pick me up, or always. I mean, the last time when I went to Europe, I was in Paris and my friend went to go pick me up, so I didn't have to handle the transportation until the end. But even then, there was a train, not specifically, but there was a train that you were able to take from, well, I was able to take from my hotel to the airport. And so with that information, I just assumed that Italy, or in this case Rome, was going to be the same, and it is not. I only had a week to explore, more or less, so I didn't really get to use the train station that much that they have, other than Trenitalia. But even then, that whole fiasco is a whole different thing within itself. Moving on. So like in the vlog, we were on the ocean side of Rome, and we were like about a 40-minute ride from like actual Rome, the Colosseum and all that stuff. And transportation wise, give or take, it was like an hour and a half depending on where we had to go. So here were like the different apps that we use and that I still have on hand just for this video in specific, that's taking up storage on my phone, but I just really wanted to make sure I had all the apps still. But for the first one is Cortal. This one's really important because this is the only bus line that goes through the airport. So once you get out of the like terminals and whatnot, Cortal is the only one that goes in and out of the airport. So making sure that you have an app, or like that app, and already have your ticket purchased is really important. It doesn't matter, well, from what I saw, it really didn't matter which ticket you bought, just as long as you had a ticket. And sometimes, which is really new, people from the company would come and check individual tickets, because there's been like a big influx of people not paying for a ticket and just getting the free ride, and the drivers really don't say anything. So just make sure that you have your ticket just in case. And that's how Cynthia and I were able to like get out of the airport, because Other than that, you are able to use Uber. Uber works over in Rome, but it was a little expensive, and especially because we were about like a 20-minute ride by bus and by Uber, and it was either 250 euros or 20 euros. So you tell me what you would have chosen. In addition to going into Rome, because like I said, like the airport and where we were at, we were closer to the ocean side, and Rome itself is like more, I guess you would have to say like east or more inside, you know, like we were on the outskirts, and to go like downtown you have to take this train called Tren Italy or Trenitalia, and with this train station you were able to go anywhere through Italy. Milan, where else, Venice and all this stuff. But the one that we were like on the end of, it was obviously like the FCO, so the Da Vinci airport, and we were at the end of it. So you had to take this train into Termini, and Termini is where they have the train station to the other parts of Italy and beyond, I would assume. And this was about a 30-minute ride for 14 euros just to get into Rome, and that alone made me not want to go to Rome on their first day, because this is 14 euros a day for a week. It's gonna add up, girl. So that's why I decided to go more on the transportation route, like using public transportation, because it was cheaper, and just I felt like it was a more authentic way to view Italy, because we were with the locals. But that's where Free Now comes in, and Free Now is where you were able to like rent bikes and scooters and, you know, a different version of Uber, which really helped, because if Uber wouldn't respond, we were able to get Free Now. Also, we were able to call taxis through Free Now, and it was really convenient. I really liked having that app on hand. Once you're in Rome, one of the apps that I really liked using along with Cynthia was Lime. And then Lime, they're really big on renting scooters. So we rented a scooter just to end up walking to a different train station, but that's a whole different story. But Lime was a really good resource as well to rent out scooters, so I recommend downloading that app. And then our last one was our savior, because I feel like had we not dabbled into the public transportation, we would have wasted a lot of money, I'm telling you. And it's the Roma ATC. So this is our ticket right here, check it out. And with this one in specific, it was reloadable. This one goes for the train, for the metro, and for the bus. And the only difference is that the other ones you would able to pay €2.50, and it was just kind of what you felt like doing in that situation. But Cynthia and I decided to buy this one, and this pass had 5 100-minute passes on there, so you were able to travel very far for 100 minutes before they had to use the next pass. It was a lot less than what we expected, because they advertised this kind of like tourist pass where you spend 24 euros and you have like the whole week to like explore, which sounds convenient. But check out this little story. So Cynthia and I were already lost on our first day, and we were trying to figure out like how to get home, and all we knew is that we had to take this one specific bus straight down to our hotel. And if we missed it, we were kind of like effed up, because then we would have to use Uber and spend so much money on the first day. And we really wanted to get this week pass, but I told her to like give me a day, because let me like figure out the transportation part so we don't have to spend a lot of money. So we hold off on the 24 euro pass, and you know, at the stop where we were all lost, there is these two fellow Mexicanos de Yucatan. We went on the bus, and I was like, hey, don't you notice that nobody paying their bus ticket here? Like, what's that all about? And they told me that a lot of the locals there don't pay, like I mentioned earlier, they don't pay for their bus ticket until someone comes on and checks that everyone has a ticket, which I found very convenient, because from that point on, Cynthia and I were getting lost for the freak. And it was really helpful to know that information, because if not, we would have been spending money, and we would have spent the 24 euros kind of for nothing. So I'm kind of glad that we took that advice, and not that I'm saying to not pay your bus ticket when you go to Rome, but that was an option that we took when we were over there, allegedly. that's pretty much how we spent our transportation. So to reiterate, make sure you have a plan to get to your hotel, to get to Rome. Just a plan outside of the airport, because it is very hard to even get out. So just make sure you have a plan prior. And in addition to that, depending on the hotel you're at, most of them do offer like a ride to and from the airport, and some of them are free, but it just really depends. From what I saw, it's really like the Hilton, or like I think they have Best Western, I'm not sure, but like, you know, those big name brand hotels, they have like free bus rides to and from the hotel. Us, in our hotel, we were given the option to like call for one, but I think it was like 17 euros to and from. And looking back, I feel like we should have done that for like coming and going, but obviously trial and error. The point is, make sure you have a plan. Moving on. Make sure you have a map of the city of Rome, of the train stations, because I feel like the bus stations would be a little bit too complicated in my opinion. But make sure you have like a paper map of Rome and of the train stations. The reason why is because it really helped us navigate and actually take the metro more, rather than Uber and Cortal and all that stuff. A map of Rome is really helpful just to know where the monuments and the historical landmarks are. Not really for navigating, unless like you're really into maps. But the only reason we took a map of Rome with us was just to help us see qué más nos faltaba ver. But it wasn't that helpful. But the ones for the ATAC Rome train stations, it was really helpful because we were able to navigate a lot farther and whatnot. So may I mention, not all of the rails or all of the train stations or metro stations are updated on Google Maps. So just keep that in mind, because that was one of the reasons why we got lost a lot, because on Google Maps, it gave me solely bus routes and it never gave me metro station routes. And like I said, it was easier to navigate through the metro than it is through the bus, and it would have, you know, saved us a lot of time had we just experimented like one more day on the metro station, because we were staying right next to one, and it took us an hour to get to Rome, but via the other transportation route it would take us an hour and a half, up to like 3 hours at one point to get there. Make sure that you're aware that not all transportation or all routes are updated on Google Maps. Do a little adventuring, if you will, with the maps, and trust the maps, because obviously they're giving you information that all the locals have. And don't be afraid to talk to a local, because some of them are really helpful and some of them really don't give a shit. So just try and ask, and usually they help. I know that this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but make sure you roughly know what you're gonna do for the day, because it's a lot of walking and you want to make sure that you hit everything de un jalón instead of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So a week before we departed, I created on Canva, not sponsored, a itinerary of roughly what we were gonna do, and it really helped in the long run because we were able to do a lot of our stuff within a couple of hours and kind of finish our day by like 6, which I know it may seem a little early, but we were able to, like, let's say a tour of the catacombs, and then after that we went to the Colosseum, and then after the Colosseum we went to like the Spanish Steps, and we were done for the day, and we were done by like 6. Like I said, it may sound early, but then it gave you the time to go find dinner, to, you know, do a little shopping, and like let's say we liked one landmark and we didn't get enough pictures, we would go back to like the Colosseum and, you know, take more pictures while everything like kind of died down, because the Colosseum was like this when we got there. It was busy. So to go back to like the Spanish Steps and take pictures there or get gelato, just making sure that you know what you're doing really helps a lot with time management wise. We're on number 4. Number 4, buy your attraction tickets ahead of time. I don't gotta say nothing more, because it was so easy to go to our activity, get our tickets, do the activity, and just head out. And for this trip, I stand by this app, I stand by this website. I've used this website for Vegas, I've now used it for Rome, the City Go Pass. Not sponsored, by the way, but if you want to sponsor me, girl, I'd be hyping you up every single time anyone travels anywhere. The City Go app, and the City Go app is where we found all of our activities for Rome, and we were able to do the catacombs, we were able to do the Colosseum, the Vatican. We were able to do so much. We also did like a bus tour around Rome, and a lot of them really helped us skip the line. So we weren't waiting for hours on end to, you know, wait and go see the Colosseum like other people were doing. We literally skipped the line. We reserved the time, skipped the line, and we were in the Colosseum, I kid you not, 10 minutes, maybe less. And out of like people who were waiting for hours, 10 minutes, that's all we had to do. The Citigo app really hooks you up, and especially because they were having a little spring sale, so it was like 10-20% off. So I don't remember how much we paid, but make sure you buy your attraction tickets ahead of time, specifically on the Citigo app, even though they don't have like a lot of like countries available, but they do have Rome. Make sure you buy them ahead of time because it is so convenient, and it took a lot of weight off of our shoulders to pay more for the tickets. And you know, we only had one app, one pass, scanned it each time, and we just did everything. It was just so convenient, and honestly, do it. If you don't do it, you're not doing it right. I'm sorry. Buy your tickets ahead of time. Moving on, number 5, bring a fanny pack. I know it's not the most attractive fashion-wise, but bring a fanny pack because ain't nobody trying to get big pocket.
Attenzione borseggiatrici! Attenzione pickpocket! Attenzione borseggiatrici! Pickpocket!
And then in Rome, Cynthia and I had fanny packs. She used hers more than I did. It was very convenient. We had all of our important documents in our fanny pack, and you know, since it was right in front of us, we always made sure that no one would be, you know, grabbing all stuff. And if I had a backpack, which I used for the most of the trip, I made sure that my backpack was like in front of me, if that makes sense, and I was like hugging it, so that way if we were on the bus or on the train, no one would try to like pickpocket my little backpack. But moving on, for number 6, use Google Maps to pin your directions, your route, because I feel like by me not doing that, it really affected the way and the efficiency to get to each destination. Okay, hello besties. So I'm realizing now that I never gave a decent explanation of how to do it, so I'm gonna show you how to do it. So first we're gonna pull out Google Maps. Say we were at La Scaletta, and then let's say we're going to the Colosseum. Okay, so here we would go through obviously like transportation, so public transit, and it would show us what bus we had to take. So we're gonna have to walk 8 minutes to this bus stop, and then these were also all the bus stops that we would obviously have to stop, and then, you know, walk 2 minutes, and it would lead us right in front of the Colosseum. But as I mentioned in the video, we wouldn't have recommendations to train stations, so this was one way of public transportation to take that you can take via bus. But also, if you had a map of the metro, you could also take the train, and both of them, from what it looks like, takes you right in front of the Colosseum. So there is minimal walking besides like 10 minutes in total. And then on the bottom left it says pin, right? And so it says route pinned, show, and when you go to, I think it's under saved, no, it's under go. Oh, so these, okay. As you can see, all of these were all the ones that I have saved from our trip. And so for example, I forget where this was. I think this is where we had to go pick up our event tickets. If not, it was probably by the Spanish Steps, and we would take the Metro Spanish like Spain stop, take it all the way to Termini, and then from Termini take the Trenitalia all the way to the airport, from the airport, go to Cortal's bus stop, and then take us to this bus stop, and then we would have to walk the 8 minutes to our hotel. This is why I told Cynthia to give me a couple days or a couple like tries to navigate, because all of this is expensive, Miss Girl. Especially Trenitalia, 14 euros to and from, okay? So this is why I never took this bus route, but this was like, it's pinned for like a last, if you will, option. And I found that really convenient. And I really recommend, one, downloading the map of like Rome, just in case you don't have like data right off the bat. You're already prepared and you already know how to navigate through Rome. And two, by pinning your maps, you don't lose the original route that you have, so that way you don't end up getting lost for 3-4 hours a day. For number 7, make sure you convert your USDs to euros, whether it be buying it from the bank. Just make sure you have your money like on hand, and make sure you just have cash overall, because there's sometimes where you do have to pay like €1 to use the bathroom. You obviously have to pay the taxi drivers, with cash. A weird thing that I saw is that it was somewhat cheaper to pay with euros than it was to pay with your credit card, because I always felt like I was getting charged more in euros than I was if I had just used actual cash. So just make sure you just have cash on hand. You can order it through the bank, or obviously you can do it at the airport. But I feel like they bamboozled me from a lot of money if I did it at the airport. So just make sure, whatever you find the best way to convert your money, do that, and just make sure you have cash on hand, because it really does come in handy, especially when it comes to like the bathrooms, because you don't want to be, dancing your little dance just because you don't have a euro at hand. Number 8. This is something that a lot of the videos that I saw didn't talk about. In Europe, they charge a tourist tax for using their hotel. And sometimes it can range to like 50 cent euros up to 4 euros or more, depending on the hotel. For us, I think we paid between like 4 or 7 euros. I can't remember. But I know the total was 40 euros, and we were there for like a couple days. I can't remember. And just make sure you're prepared to pay that. So make sure you have extra money on hand, specifically for, the tourist tax, because you don't want to get caught off guard being a little broke and not have enough money to pay the tourist tax. So just make sure that you have enough money. Make sure that you ask the hotel. Make sure you look it up on their website. I'm pretty sure that they'll tell you if you were to ask ahead of time. And just make sure you have that in your budget, so that way you're not going over budget or anything like that. So for number 9, we don't do this enough, but we need to practice that country's language. Practice some basic Italian, and it goes so far. Even if it's just basic words, because ellos son como los mexicanos que son respetuosos. Si good morning, buenos días, ciao, buenas noches, arrivederci, all that stuff. Make sure that you know how to say good morning, good afternoon, because you don't want to look rude. And they're more likely to help you if you know a little bit about their language. And it's just respectful overall for the country that you're visiting in, because do not forget, you are the guest, not the host or the owner of that country. So just give a little respect to the country, and just learn a little bit. Cynthia and I are obviously bilingual, and so there was a 50-50 chance or a 60% chance, if you want to say that someone spoke English, Spanish, or obviously Italian. But Cynthia and I are both fluent in English and Spanish. So believe it or not, there's a lot of Spanish speakers over in Italy, and it helped again so much. So just learn a few basics. It's not gonna kill you. It's probably gonna make your brain work a little harder. And obviously for number 10, make sure you enjoy each and every moment, because being caught up with social media all the time, I feel like you don't fully enjoy the moment. And I know that I created a long vlog, but in all honesty, you missed a big chunk of what we experienced. I didn't record every time we got lost. I didn't record every meal. I didn't record a lot of it because I just wanted to enjoy the moment of being in Rome, and as a history nerd, being in history, learning about all of this. And I'm so thankful to myself that I took the time and actually enjoyed each and every moment and took pictures and everything, because yes, I'll probably relive this again, but I'll never relive it like the first time I did. And it's a good country. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good trip. Even though we were complaining and, you know, making fun of the situation, I had a lot of fun. But now, let's get to the don'ts. Right before we get to the don'ts, one thing I want to clear up before I post this, when it comes to the tourist tax, I want to clarify, you're paying for each person each day, okay? So for example, let's say there's two of us, right? Cynthia and I. And let's say the tourist tax for us was €5 for each person each day. So since there's two of us, that's 10. And let's say we stayed for 4 nights, that's €40 in total. And obviously if you divide it and you pay separate, it's €20 for each person. But I just want to make that clear. It's not like a one flat fee per se. It's just your fee is per person per day. Just wanted to clarify that before we keep moving on. So now let's finally get to the don'ts. So don't number 1, don't buy all of your transportation tickets in one day, because like I mentioned, allegedly we didn't have to pay for our bus tickets, because allegedly we were just hopping on and off because that's what the locals did, you know. And sometimes the bus would be too crowded that you couldn't even pay your ticket. So just don't buy, do a little exploring first. Make sure that you have, you know, as mentioned, a rough idea of what you're going to do every day, and then based off of that information, buy the passes accordingly. So for example, if the €24 package is for you, it's for you. We decided to pay, I think it was like €7 to €14 for, you know, 5 passes, and that's what worked for us. So number 2, don't assume that transportation is 24/7, because I feel like that was our fault, because Cynthia and I are both from Chicago. In Paris, you know, they were running a little late or whatever, but in Italy, in Rome in specific, I think the metro station stopped working at around like 9ish or 10, and the trains, they do go a little bit later in the night, because I remember like midnight, 1ish in the morning, we were like still on the bus. But just don't assume that it'll be 24 hours, because everything stops working at a certain time. And just make sure that you're aware of what your transportation options are before you go out super late and all that, because you don't want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere in a country that you don't really know and be exposed to that vulnerability. I know this is a given, but given what I mentioned in the vlog, don't take your time getting to the airport. You know, we were really fascinated with how quick European TSA went, that Cynthia and I took our sweet time, you know, enjoying our day, that we got to our flight an hour and a half prior to our flight, and we weren't even through the TSA gates until like about 40 minutes, if that. So I know it's a given, but just make sure that you're there with ample amount of time, like 2 hours before, because again, they don't give you like your flight information until an hour before the flight. So just make sure you're like 2 hours before your flight, just to prevent anything and not leave it for last minute. And I know it's a little contradicting, but for number 4, don't get to the airport too early, because I know like in American culture, we, you know, make fun of Hispanics and all these different cultures for getting to the airport super early, because our airlines kind of suck, allegedly. And I'm not, you know, don't take it to the chest, but I've heard people, you know, como los mexicanos, if it's, you know, recommended to get 2 hours, we're there 4 or 5 hours before. You don't have to do that in Italy or in Europe. just like an hour or two before is enough, because like I said for like the third time, they don't give your airline information, like what gate and all that, until an hour before. So getting there 3-4 hours before, you just don't sit there and explore the airport. And if that's what you like to do, go ahead. But if time is money and all that, just get there like 2 hours before, you know, just so you can get through TSA and you're not there very long. Number 5, don't be surprised to get charged a service fee at, you know, restaurants, because it's kind of like, the way I saw it, it's kind of like their version of a tip. Because for example, if there's tables in a bar, go for the bar, because they'll charge you a service fee if you're sitting like at a table. And so don't be surprised, and also don't avoid restaurants that don't have a bar available, because it's gonna be really hard to find a restaurant like that. Just don't be surprised, but also don't avoid them. And I know, also probably common sense, don't for number 6, don't forget to tell them in the beginning about it being separate checks, because they do get a little annoyed and they'll show you with their whole face and their whole chest that they didn't like that you didn't tell them that this wasn't one check and it was separate checks, because it's more inconvenient for them, and they won't do it. Low key, they won't. So you gotta suck it up and, you know, start zelling people, because they're not gonna do it for the convenience. You didn't tell them and they're not gonna do it. So keep that in mind. Okay, number 8, make sure you talk to your phone company beforehand and, you know, find better international data options, because girl, I think I paid like $80 for my international, because I think it was like $10 a day for 1 gigabyte, which oddly enough I didn't run out. But just make sure you find better options, because I don't think I paid a lot when I was in France, and that's because my friend like was the plug and helped me out. But just make sure that you know ahead of time what your data is gonna look like, because again, we gotta stay in budget porque estamos en crisis. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And number 9, like I said, do not forget that you are a visitor to the country and not the owner of the country, because so you forget, because American culture and everybody else's culture very different, you know. And I feel like since I've been traveling at a very young age to Mexico, I respect, you know, the country that I'm in. Like that one quote, if you could be anything, be kind, because we all going through it. And again, you don't owe the country, you're just a visitor. Enjoy being a visitor, bro. Enjoy being served. And the last one, and this is coming from someone who loves to spend money, don't fucking forget that USD and euros are almost the exact same. Because you know how many times I bought a shot glass or a keychain that was about €5. I did it because I always put it back, but you know how close I was to buy a €5 shot glass or a keychain, because I kept forgetting que no estamos en pesos, estamos en euros. Oof, girl, I spent so much money because I kept forgetting that they're relatively the same, you know, when you convert them. And just because I saw a different, you know, symbol instead of the dollar sign, oof, I spent so much money. So just keep that in mind. Remind yourself, when you see that keychain and it says €5, that is $5 or $6 that you're spending on that keychain. Just keep that in mind, because I kept forgetting. So don't forget that. And honestly, that's pretty much it. That was the last one. I hope you found this video really interesting. I personally find these videos a little bit more awkward because I talk with my hands a lot and I'm not really doing anything, and it just makes me feel a little bit awkward just to sit here, kind of express my feelings and all that. But I hope you guys like this video. I hope you found it useful. I hope I can edit it in a way where you guys can find it useful. And again, you know, make sure you do your research, make sure that you do what you love, because that's the only way you're gonna enjoy your trip. If you love spending money, spend that money. If euros and dollars are just the same in your head, spend that money. But don't forget to be nice to the people, because you're just a visitor in that country and shit can hit the fan so freaking quick. if you're not being respectful. That's something that I want to reiterate, because we live in a world where everyone is so entitled to everything that we forget to be humble and to be hospitable and to be, you know, tolerable and tolerant to other people. So just make sure that you're doing your best to be, you know, nice and kind, and go in there with an open mind, because it could be beautiful to experience, you know, a different country and a different, you know, experience and era. So I hope you guys like this video. I can't wait for y'all to watch it. Make sure you comment down below for any information that you didn't find clear, so I can clear it up, or, you know, I can post the Q&A that I did for myself down in the comments below. It really helped me. This trip really helped me navigate for the next trip that I have hopefully coming up soon. So without further ado, my name's Miriam Barajas. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys. Peace.